My father was a killer. Now I'm a parole officer. We both got blood on our hands, we just wore different gloves. South Side, Chicago. 1995. The year my father disappeared into the system like smoke through a broken window. I was 12. He left the house one morning in his work boots and bull's cap, same as always. Never came back. Ma said nothing. Just poured herself some whiskey in a coffee mug and stared at the wall until her cigarette burned down to the filter. His name was Raymond King, but they called him Razor. Ran enforcement for the Kinfolk Kings, which meant when people didn't pay or got out of line, he paid them a visit, with pipe or pistol, depending on the mood. The streets remember him like a myth, like some blood-stained shadow. Me? I tried to forget him. Scrubbed his name out my head like gum off sneakers. Fast forward 20 years. I'm sitting in my office, faded diploma on the wall, parole files stacked like broken promises, and my son, Jaden, is sitting across from me, handcuffed. His hoodie's torn, his lips cracked, and his eyes won't meet mine. Just like mine never met Ma's when I started slipping too. He's lucky, Officer Denton says, arms crossed like he's posing for a punishment poster. Store owner didn't press charges. Just wants the candy and cigarettes back. Said he looked scared more than slick. Jaden mumbles. I wasn't stealing. Just hungry. My jaw clenches. Not because of the lie. Because I remember saying the exact same thing when I boosted a frozen dinner from King's Grocery in '98. After Denton leaves, I kneel in front of Jaden. You know what this is, right? He shrugs. Mistake? No. It's a crack in the ice. You keep walking, it don't matter how strong your legs are, you go under. He nods, but it's mechanical. There's a flicker behind his eyes, something smoldering. Not rebellion. Not fear. Something older. Something I recognize. Later that night, while Jaden's passed out in his room, I get the letter. Return address, Joliet Correctional Center. Sender, Raymond King. I open it under the sink light, half hoping it's a mistake. Inside is a single sheet of yellow paper, words scratched in trembling ink. Marcus, I got stage 4 in the bones. Doctors say months, maybe weeks. I'm not asking for forgiveness. Just a visit. No cuffs, no lies. Just talk. Your call. Razor. I read it 3 times. My hands don't shake. My heart don't race. But something in my ribs knots up, tight and ugly. I think about throwing it out. Think about burning it, flushing it, burying it. But I don't. Instead, I pour myself a whiskey in a coffee mug and stare at the wall, just like Ma did. Next morning, I pull Jaden's bus card off the counter and follow him. South Side's changed and stayed the same. New graffiti over old blood, fresh sneakers stepping where ghosts used to roam. I watch from across the street as he daps up a lanky kid with braids. They hover on the corner like smoke, half there, half gone. He doesn't see me. Good. I turn around and head to Joliet. Prison smells like bleach and sweat and time. They strip you of everything but your breath, then ask what you're here for like it's not carved into your chest. Razor sits in a room that hums with bad air and dying light. He's smaller now. Shrunk. His eyes are sallow, but sharp. Still sees like a predator. He smiles. Didn't think you'd come. I didn't come for you. He nods. Course not. We sit in silence. The kind that scratches. I got a son, I say. He leans forward. I know. Heard things. You don't know shit. He chuckles, then coughs, the kind that sounds like something inside is tearing. I knew you'd be good. He wheezes. Better than me. You were always watching. I stare at the floor. He's heading where I was heading. Before you vanished? Razor's voice lowers. Then stop him. How? The same way you did? His eyes narrow. You think I didn't try? You think I wanted to leave? You didn't have to kill people. He slams the table with his palm. I killed to protect you. You think those bastards wouldn't have come for Ma? For you? I stand up. You used that story to justify your shit. But it's just blood. That's all you left? He doesn't stop me when I walk away. Doesn't call my name. Just sits there, bleeding from the inside, in more ways than one. Back in the car, I grip the steering wheel so tight my knuckles pale. I look in the rear view, see my own eyes staring back. Same eyes he had. I start the engine. I drive home. I don't cry. But I don't sleep either. The week after I visited Razor, I moved like a ghost. Still did my job. Still showed up for meetings. But something behind my eyes was cracked, like a windshield hit by a stone. Just waiting for the pressure to finish the job. Jaden kept to himself. Said he was staying out of trouble. I didn't press him. I knew the game too well. Silence don't mean peace, it just means war's on pause. I sat at the kitchen table late one night, papers laid out in front of me, court dates, behavioral reports, old school records, even a sketch he made when he was 6 of the two of us, stick figure style, both smiling. My hand traced the paper like it was a relic. There was a knock at the door. Not hard. Not urgent. Just deliberate. I opened it to find Deshaun, my cousin. Razor's nephew. My only blood left outside the walls. He smiled that crooked grin. Heard you paid a visit. I let him in. We didn't hug. Just nodded. Didn't think you'd go, he said, sitting down. I figured you buried him in your mind a long time ago. I thought I had. Deshaun pulled out a blunt but didn't light it. Just rolled it between his fingers. You remember the night he disappeared? Like a movie on loop. He didn't vanish, Marcus. He turned himself in. I looked up. What? He killed a man. Not gang business. Not turf. It was personal. My stomach twisted. Who? Deshaun hesitated. A cop. Everything in the room dropped 10 degrees. Say that again. Undercover. The cop had been leaning on Ma for weeks. Threats. Harassment. One night, Razor caught him breaking in through the back door. Shot him point blank. Then walked to the station and confessed. I sat back, heart thudding. I remembered the fear in Ma's eyes that year. The locks changed twice. The curtains always closed. I never understood why. He never told me. I whispered. 'Cause he didn't want you thinking violence was noble. Or worse, necessary. I ran my hand over my face. He was still a killer. Yeah, Deshaun said, standing. But sometimes killers ain't monsters. Sometimes they're shields with sharp edges. He left me with that. 2 days later, I picked Jaden up from school. No warning. Just waited by the fence like my father never did for me. He climbed in the car, confused. Something wrong? Not yet. We drove without music, just the hum of tires on pavement and the occasional sigh from the vents. I took him to Garfield Park, where the trees looked older than the city itself. We sat on a bench. I handed him a folded paper. He opened it. Read it. Eyes widened. You wrote this? No. Your grandfather did. He stared. The killer? The man. With a story. Same as you. Same as me. Jaden read it again, lips moving slightly, like he was trying to taste the words. What do you want me to do with this? He asked. Think. Before you write your own chapter. He didn't answer. Just pocketed the letter and looked out over the pond. After a while, he said, You ever think about what would have happened if he hadn't left? Every day. He nodded. You ever wish you could talk to him different? I paused. I do. Now I just gotta find the words. That night I picked up a pen. I didn't write to Razor. I wrote to me. 12-year-old me? The boy who watched his father disappear without a goodbye. The boy who never got to ask why. The boy who swore he'd never wear the same shadows. Dear Marcus. It wasn't your fault. None of it. And you don't have to carry his silence like a weapon. You don't have to bleed to be strong. You don't have to run to be free. You're allowed to stay. You're allowed to forgive. Next morning, I drove to Joliet again. This time with a thermos of coffee and the old bull's cap from my closet. Razor looked worse. Eyes sunken. Breathing shallow. But when he saw the hat, he smiled. Thought you burned that. I set it on the table. Figured it still had a little life left. We talked. Not like enemies. Not like strangers. Like blood. Knotted. Tangled. Still pulsing. Still trying. It was strange, watching Razor smile. Like seeing a wolf curl up like a house cat. His voice was thinner now, breath whistling through the words like wind under a door. You remember that fishing trip? He asked. I raised an eyebrow. We never went fishing. He laughed, a brittle sound. Exactly. I planned it. Bought rods. Even mapped a spot near Kankakee. But then Marcus got the flu. Then the job called. Then, you know how it goes. I didn't say anything. Just watched his hands tremble as he picked at the seam of his blanket. That was the last good week, he said. Before it all went sideways. You talking about the cop? His eyes darkened. That was after. I mean the week before, when I thought maybe I could actually stop. Step away. Be a dad, not a soldier. But you didn't. No. His fingers stopped moving. Because monsters don't get to walk away. They just stop being useful. He looked at me, that same stare I saw in the mirror every morning. What are you afraid of, Marcus? Losing my son? Razor nodded like he already knew. Then don't talk at him. Walk with him. Jaden was waiting when I got home. Sitting on the porch, hoodie pulled tight, music bleeding from his headphones. You went to see him again? He asked without looking. Yeah. Why? Because he's dying. And because I needed to know if any of this could end different. He pulled off the headphones. Different than what? Than me ending up in a suit, sitting across from you in handcuffs. Or you ending up behind bars, looking out at a son who hates you. Jaden looked at me then, really looked. You think that's where I'm headed? I think you're at a fork in the road. One way looks easy, feels like power. But it's a cage. The other way hurts more but leads somewhere better. Eventually. He stared out at the street. It don't feel like I got a map. You do, I said. It's in your blood. All the shit I walked through? That's your compass. He scoffed. Ain't exactly comforting. No. But it's real. We sat in silence. Somewhere down the block, a dog barked. Tires screeched. A woman screamed at her kid to come inside. Life went on. The next morning, I stopped by work early and pulled the file on a parolee named Tyrone Greaves. Jaden's friend, the one with the braids. I'd seen his name on a docket months ago. Assault. Petty theft. Gang ties. But also high school diploma. Vocational training. No new violations in 12 months. I made a few calls. That afternoon, I picked up Jaden and told him we had an appointment. With who? You'll see. We pulled up to a warehouse on 83rd. Inside, sparks flew from welding rigs. Men and women in jumpsuits moved like clockwork. Tyrone looked up from a steel frame, face shining with sweat and grease. Yo, he said, pulling off his gloves. Didn't expect y'all. Jaden looked confused. What is this? Second chances, Tyrone said. Courtesy of your old man. Jaden blinked. You work here? Yeah. 6 months now. Legit paycheck. Boss don't care where you been, just where you're going. I turned to Jaden. You want out? Here's a door. He looked around, eyes wide. What do I gotta do? Show up. Work. Learn. Jaden nodded slowly. Okay. It was a beginning. A thread. A choice. That night, Razor called collect. First time he reached out. You set the boy straight? He rasped. He's thinking different now. Good. That's all I wanted. You could tell him yourself. I said. Razor coughed, long and wet. Ain't got many words left, Marcus. Then make the ones you got count. He was silent. Then, put him on next time. Let him hear me say it. What? That I was wrong. That I left a hole in you. And that you don't have to fill it with more hurt. The line clicked dead. But I knew we weren't finished. I didn't tell Jaden about the call. Not yet. Part of me still didn't trust Razor not to disappear again, this time into the grave. But I kept the letter in my coat pocket like armor. Like proof. Some days I touched it just to remind myself it was real. A week passed. Jaden showed up to the shop every morning. Learned to weld. Learned to sweat. Tyrone said he was quiet, but focused. Not chasing respect, just earning space. One night, Jaden came home late, grease on his hands, but there was something else. Stillness. Like the fire in him had found a forge instead of a fuse. I poured us both a soda. We sat at the kitchen table, same spot I used to sit with Ma when she'd pretend everything was fine. Jaden finally said, "You gonna take me next time? To Joliet?" He nodded. I swallowed. "Yeah. If you're ready." "I ain't scared," he said. "I didn't say you were." He looked at me. I want to hear his voice. Want to know if he sounds like you." I didn't have a response. That Friday, we drove upstate. Wind pressed against the car like it had questions we didn't want to answer. Jaden didn't talk much. Just stared out the window, his fingers tapping a rhythm I recognized. Ma used to do that when she was trying not to cry. Inside, after the pat-downs and paperwork, they led us into visitation. Razor was already seated, blanket over his knees, 4-port taped to his hand. He looked like a scarecrow in hospice. When he saw Jaden, something in his face cracked, like sunlight through boarded glass. "You must be the Echo," Razor said. Jaden frowned. "The what?" Razor smiled. "You look like your dad. But your eyes, they're your own." Jaden sat down slow. "You really killed a cop?" I flinched. Razor didn't. "Yes." "Did he deserve it?" Razor leaned back. "I don't know anymore. I thought he did. Thought I was saving my family. Maybe I was. But I still buried a man's future. Doesn't make me righteous." Jaden's voice was steady. "Did you ever think about the people left after?" "All the time," Razor said. "Especially the ones that carry pieces of me without choosing to." Jaden nodded like he understood that language. "I ain't trying to forgive you," he said. "I just needed to see you." Razor looked at me. "You raised him right. I'm still learning how. Keep learning. And don't lie to him about who you were. He needs the whole truth." Jaden stood. "I got enough truth for one day." He walked out. I stayed. "You think that helped him?" I asked. Razor stared at the door. "I think it unhooked a chain. Maybe not all of them. But one." He coughed hard, the kind that makes people turn their heads. I reached into my coat and pulled out the bull's cap. Set it on the table. "Figured you should keep this." He smiled. "Thanks. For coming back." I nodded. "For now." Jaden was leaning on the car when I got outside. The wind had picked up. Sky was bruised with dusk. He said, "He's smaller than I thought. He used to fill rooms without trying." Jaden kicked at a rock. "I don't want to be like either of you." "You don't have to be. Just carry what helps. Leave the rest." He nodded. "I think I can do that." We got in the car. Drove home in silence. But it wasn't the same kind of silence. It wasn't waiting for something to break. It was healing. Spring leaned into the city like it was sorry. The wind softened. Kids played longer on sidewalks. But for me, the season didn't matter. I kept waiting for something to fall. Jaden was quieter these days. Not withdrawn, just tuned in. Focused. He'd come home from the shop with grease on his knuckles, stories about things he welded, tools he was learning, a guy named Ellis who used to run with the Vice Lords and now taught blueprint reading like gospel. It was the most peace I'd seen in him since he was 10. Then one night, I came home to find a notice taped to the door. Notice of revocation hearing, Tyrone Greaves. Violation of parole, alleged association with known gang affiliates. I stood there, breath caught in my throat. Inside, Jaden was at the table, hoodie up, earbuds in. I placed the notice in front of him. "What is this?" he asked. "You tell me." He scanned it. "Nah, this gotta be a mistake. T'd been clean. I know it. Where was he last Friday night?" "I don't know. Probably with his sister. She just had a kid." I could hear the defensiveness. The fear. "Jay," I said, sitting across from him, "you're not on trial. I just need the truth. Because if they revoke his parole, he's done. Back inside. No questions." He looked up. "Then let me talk to him." "Too late for that." "But you can testify." His eyes widened. "In court?" "Yes." He slumped back. "They won't listen to me. I'm just some kid. You're a witness. And you matter. Especially now." The hearing was cold. Metal chairs. Beige walls. That buzz in the fluorescent lights like a mosquito in your ear. Jaden sat next to me in a button-up shirt he hated, jaw tight, leg bouncing. Tyrone looked defeated. Wrists in cuffs. Public defender at his side. He gave Jaden a nod, but it was half-hearted. Like he'd already packed his bags in his mind. They brought up a photo, grainy surveillance of Tyrone standing outside a liquor store. 2 known kings beside him. Jaden leaned over. "That's not even his block." "Then tell them." When they called him, his voice wavered at first. But then he locked in. "I was with Tyrone that night. His sister went into labor. We were in Stroger till almost dawn." He gave the baby's name. The floor number. The nurse's name. Every detail. I watched the board scribble notes. When it was done, Jaden sat back down, chest rising and falling like he'd run a race. "You did good," I whispered. He didn't respond. Just looked at Tyrone as they led him out. 2 days later, we got the news, parole maintained. Jaden exhaled like he'd been holding his breath forever. I clapped a hand on his shoulder. "You saved someone." He looked at me. "You think Razor ever felt that?" I paused. "I don't know. I think maybe he thought he was saving us. In his way." Jaden nodded. "I think I want to go see him again." We returned the next weekend. Razor looked worse. Skin gray. Eyes red. But when Jaden entered, he smiled. "You came back," he said. Jaden nodded. "I had questions." Razor motioned him close. "Ask." Jaden didn't hesitate. "When did you know the street was gonna swallow you?" Razor took a long breath. "The first time I liked the fear in a man's eyes." Jaden flinched. "That's when I knew I wasn't protecting anymore. I was enjoying it. That's when I stopped being a father." Jaden sat, jaw clenched. "But," Razor added, "you don't have to carry that. You already chose different." Jaden looked at him. "I think I just started." Razor coughed again, harder this time. He gripped my hand. "When I'm gone, don't bury me like a soldier. Just a man. Flawed. Trying." I nodded. "All right." He turned to Jaden. "Be better. Even when it's hard." Jaden whispered. "I will." And I believed him. Razor died on a Tuesday. April 11th, 3:47 a.m. Official cause: complications from metastasized bone cancer. Unofficial? A slow bleed from 1,000 cuts life gave him before the doctors did. The prison chaplain called me. Said he went quiet. No fight. No words. Just exhaled like he was finally letting go of something too heavy to hold. Jaden sat on the couch when I told him. Didn't cry. Didn't blink. Just nodded and said, "Okay." That night, he stayed in his room. Door cracked. I heard music playing low, something with no words. Just strings. It sounded like a wound trying to hum. I sat in the kitchen with a blank sheet of paper. Stared at it until the coffee went cold. I wanted to write a eulogy. But all I had were confessions I never got to say out loud. We buried Razor in a city plot. No big send-off. No marching drums. Just me, Jaden, Deshawn, and a pair of ravens circling overhead like they were late to something. The headstone read, Raymond, Razor King. Father. Fighter. Flawed. Jaden placed the bull's cap on the casket before they lowered it. He was more ghost than man to me, he said, voice clear. But he showed up in the end. I'll give him that. Deshawn patted Jaden's back, then walked off to talk with a cousin who came late. Jaden and I stayed. You all right? I asked. Jaden nodded. I feel clean. Like I let go of something I didn't know I was gripping. Back at the house, I found the letter again. The one Razor sent when this all started. I read it a fourth time. Just talk. Your call. He knew what he was doing. That letter wasn't just a plea. It was a mirror. A map. He'd already accepted his ending. He just didn't want it to swallow us too. In May, Jaden graduated his welding certification. Ellis snapped a picture of him holding his papers like it was a championship belt. They printed it, taped it on the wall at the shop. Tyrone was there, clapping loud, laughing louder. He looked over at me and said, He's got it, you know. That balance. Fire and focus. I nodded. He's still learning. Ain't we all? That weekend, Jaden knocked on my bedroom door. You ever think about doing something else? He asked. You mean other than parole? Yeah. Like? I don't know. Helping before folks get that far. Before the system swallows them. I looked at him. Saw the weight he'd carried and dropped, the strength in how he chose to stay. Maybe I have. He held up a flyer. Youth Mentorship Program. Volunteer counselors needed. They're short on men who've actually been through it, he said. I took the paper. Felt the edge. The potential. I'll call them tomorrow. Jaden smiled. Cool. I already signed us up. We showed up the next week. Gym full of noise, kids bouncing between hope and habit. I saw a boy in the corner who looked like me at 12, jaw tight, eyes scanning every exit. Jaden walked up to him. Yo, you hoop? The kid shrugged. Jaden tossed him a ball. Let's see. That's how it starts. Not with sermons. Not with speeches. But with presence. With men who stay. Summer came fast. The city baked under the weight of heat and noise, sirens, laughter, tires screeching, boom boxes, fireworks pretending they weren't gunshots. Jaden and I kept going back to the center. Twice a week. Sometimes more. We weren't saviors. Just consistent. That was enough to make some of the kids open up. Enough to get cursed out by others. It came with the job. One night, after a rough session where a kid named Malachi nearly threw a chair at the wall, Jaden said, I get him. He's like me. But angrier. He ever say what's going on at home? I asked. Jaden nodded. His dad's doing time. Mom's working doubles. He's raising himself. Or trying to. I remembered those days. Peanut butter sandwiches. Long walks to nowhere. Hoping no one noticed how hungry or scared I was. Jaden said, You think it makes a difference? I didn't have to ask what he meant. I think showing up always makes a difference, I said. Even if it don't show right away. That weekend, I got a call from Deshawn. Yo, remember that old barber shop on 59th? Yeah. It's shutting down. Owner's retiring. Said if I can scrape together the lease, it's mine. You serious? I want to turn it into a spot for kids. Barbershop during the day. Tutoring and mentorship in the back. Safe space. Real talk. I smiled. Sounds like Razor's ghost is haunting all of us. Deshawn laughed. Better that than his temper. He paused. You in? You already know. By July, We were hammering drywall and painting trim. Jaden was learning clippers from an old barber named Mo who said, "Cutting hair ain't about the fade, it's about the trust." Kids stopped by even before we had chairs set up. Just to sit in the AC. Just to sit with us. We put up a sign out front, King and Sons. Cuts. Conversation. Change. Jaden asked. "Why that name?" I said. "Because no matter what he did, Razor started this. And now we're finishing it. Our way." He nodded. "It fits." Then one night, late, I found Jaden on the porch again. Same spot where I once told him about Razor's letter. "You okay?" I asked. He was quiet a long time. "I had a dream," he said. Razor was sitting in the shop, talking to some kid about boxing. Said something about how you gotta learn to take hits before you throw 'em. I nodded. Sounds like him. Jaden looked up. "I think I miss him." I sat beside him. "That's okay. Missing someone doesn't mean they were perfect. Just means they mattered." He let that sit. "I don't hate him anymore," he said. "Me neither." We sat there as the streetlights flickered on. Two men. Two suns. Learning to breathe. Late August pressed in heavy, like the city didn't want to exhale. Jaden was up early every day, cutting hair before school started back up, saving what little cash he made in a jar under his bed. I never told him I saw it. Just let him believe in the secret of it. That's how a boy becomes a man, by holding things close, then deciding when to share them. One evening, Dishon handed me a stack of old photos. Most were faded Polaroids from the 80s and early 90s. Street parties. Family cookouts. Razor, half smiling, always near the edge of the frame like he didn't trust the spotlight. "I found these in my storage," Dishon said. Thought Jaden should see him as more than a cautionary tale. I brought them home and laid them out on the kitchen table. Jaden came in from the shop and paused, staring down. "Is that him?" "Yeah. That one's from the 4th of July, 91. You weren't even a thought yet." He picked it up. Razor had a kid on his shoulders. "Not me, some cousin." But he looked relaxed, soft even. "He looks normal," Jaden said. He was. Sometimes. Jaden studied the photos, fingers trailing over corners. "We should frame a few. For the shop." I looked at him. "You sure?" He nodded. "Yeah. He started something. Might as well let him stay part of it." That weekend, a kid named Reggie came into the shop. Maybe 13. Too skinny for his shoes. Had that look in his eyes like he already owed the world something. Jaden gave him a free cut. Said nothing while he worked. Just let the silence stretch until Reggie started talking about school, his older brother locked up, the fight he nearly had that morning. When Reggie left, Jaden turned to me. "He reminds me of Malachi. He reminds me of you." Jaden didn't argue. Just looked out the window. "You ever think about being a dad?" he asked. I blinked. "Someday?" "No. I mean, back when I was a baby." "Did it scare you?" "Terrified me." He nodded. "But you stayed." "Yeah," I said. "I stayed." He looked at the photo we'd framed of Razor, just his silhouette leaning on a porch rail, smoke curling up around his face. Think he would have stayed if he could? I think he thought leaving was staying. In his way. Jaden didn't say anything. But he didn't have to. That night I wrote again. Not to Razor. Not to Ma. To Jaden. Just in case. If I don't make it through something, if I go before I'm ready, know that I tried. Not just to raise you, but to walk beside you. I failed a lot. But I never stopped trying. And that matters. Your blood is yours. But your choices? They're your own. And I see the man you're becoming. Strong. Sharp. Kind. Keep building. I folded it. Put it in the back of the drawer where I kept the old letters. Just in case. At the center, Malachi finally stayed after group one day. No outburst. No posturing. Just asked if he could hang around. Jaden played chess with him. Quiet match. No trash talk. Just the sound of thinking. Malachi lost. Barely. Smiled anyway. Jaden said, "Rematch next week?" Malachi nodded. "Yeah. I'll bring snacks." I watched it happen. That thread tighten. That knot of blood pulled just enough to keep the pieces close without strangling. Progress. Not peace. But it was enough. Fall crept in with orange leaves and cool nights. The barbershop settled into a rhythm, school cuts, weekend fades, hot coffee for the early birds, soft jazz humming from the speaker in the corner. Kids came and went. Some stayed longer than others. Some didn't say much, just sat safe in the stillness. And that was fine. You don't measure change by volume. Jaden started running a Sunday workshop, basic cuts, hygiene, how to carry yourself. He called it Sharp Minds, Sharp Lines. Said if no one else was gonna teach these boys how to show up for themselves, he would. I watched him from the back room that first session. Proud doesn't cover it. What I felt was older than that. Deeper. Like something full circle stitching itself shut. One afternoon, a kid named Caleb came in. 10 years old. First time in a barber chair. His hands shook like he was about to testify in court. Jaden knelt down, said, "You nervous?" Caleb nodded. Jaden smiled. "Good. That means it matters." He gave him the cleanest fade I've ever seen on a child that small. Caleb walked out like he was 6 feet tall. Later that night, Jaden said, "I get it now." "What?" I asked. "What you meant. About presence. About showing up." One night I found myself back at Joliet. Not inside. Just parked out front. The lot was mostly empty, except for a corrections bus and a security guard halfway through a sandwich. I sat there a long time. Thought about the last visit. Thought about Razor's final words. And then I pulled out a pen. "Raymond, you were never a hero. But you were human. And I see now, that was enough. You left a mess. You left pain. But you also left a son who still showed up. Who tried. And now he's helping others try too. Maybe that's the best any of us can do. You said not to bury you like a soldier. So we buried you like a man. And now we live like men. Goodbye." I folded the note. Burned it in a tin ashtray I kept in the glove box. The ashes curled, lifted, vanished. Like breath in cold air. Thanksgiving came. Deshaun brought sweet potatoes and a deck of cards. Jaden cooked, real food too. Greens, mac, baked chicken with paprika crust. Said he learned from Ellis. We ate like kings. Not kinfolk. Just family. After dinner, Jaden pulled out an old box from the hallway closet. Inside were photos, letters, newspaper clippings, even a half-torn ID from Razor's first job in '84. He spread them out on the table. "I want to build something," he said. "You already are." "No," he said. "I mean something real. For him. For us. For the ones like us." "A foundation?" He nodded. "Scholarships. Vocational support. Counseling. Name it after Razor. Not to glorify what he did, but to honor what he almost became." I stared at him. At the clarity in his voice. "You sure?" Jaden smiled. "Dead sure." I looked at the table. At my son. At our future laid out in scraps and memories. Blood doesn't always bind. But it can braid. And knots, if tied with care, can hold the weight of generations. Spring again. Same streets. Same wind. But nothing feels the same. Jaden's foundation got its papers filed in March. The Raymond King Initiative. He designed the logo himself, 2 hands gripping the same rope, one dark, one light, twisted but strong. The motto underneath reads, "Break the cycle. Build the future." The barbershop's still running, but now the back room's got laptops, tutoring desks, A bulletin board filled with job postings and community events. People come in for cuts. Stay for conversations. Stay for care. Jaden mentors 3 boys now. One's learning auto work. One's into poetry. One just needs a place to eat after school. Jaden doesn't push. Just shows up. Like he learned to. I run point on the counseling wing. Mostly parents. Men like me. Tired of failing quiet. Tired of swallowing pain and calling it strength. Some nights I still write letters. Not to Razor. To the ones we've lost. To the kid versions of ourselves. To boys in holding cells who don't know they can change. On April 11th, Jaden asked if we could visit the grave. We brought flowers. No fancy bouquet, just a bunch of fresh-cut dandelions. Jaden placed them gently. He stood there a while, hands in pockets. "I'm not here to forgive you," he said. "I already did that. I'm here to thank you. You taught me what not to be. But you also showed me what I could be. When you finally spoke, you spoke truth. That matters." He turned to me. "You want to say anything?" I looked at the stone. Thought about the boy I was. The man I became. The father I tried to be. "Just this," I said. "We made it. Not because of you. Not in spite of you. But through you." We left the grave. Left behind the silence, the fists, the blood. Brought with us only what mattered. Later that night, I found Jaden in the barber shop. Lights low. Jazz still playing. He was sweeping hair from the floor. I watched him for a moment. "You know," I said, "when I started this journey, all I wanted was to not become my father." Jaden smiled. And now I want to become the man I needed when I was your age." He nodded. "You're doing that." We finished closing up. Locked the doors. Outside, the air was warm. A group of teens stood across the street, laughing, punching shoulders, walking slow like the world would wait for them. Jaden said, "You think we can really stop them from making the same mistakes?" I shook my head. "No. But we can give them another choice. And sometimes, one choice is all it takes." The wind passed through us, soft and full. Not haunting anymore. Just moving forward.